Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show, it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Ozark. Great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with that opening. I brought it up when I was talking about it during my trailer discussion that I was wondering if that whole car accident scene, which it was also kind of a bit of a teaser trailer for that sequence. Well, at least we saw that sequence in rewind, being rewound, backwards is what I should be saying, in one of the teaser trailers. So I was thinking like, right, it was like Wendy shooting Marty. I said like, oh, that was a dream sequence. Maybe this is too. No, it's further in the future. And I was halfway expecting it because it's like a media res opening of like, oh, let's start at the end and rewind to the beginning. I mean, literally the episode's called The Beginning of the End, which obviously has layers because this is the final season, first half of the final season. Plus, we are kind of starting at the end there, and then let's rewind it to the beginning of that end. But it's them riding and just like, right, they're together. It's a family having conversations about, cool, we're 48 hours away from the FBI thing, whatever that is, whether that's what we find out later on about Navarro wanting to have what happened. What Navarro wants to happen is potentially 48 hours away from happening. It seems like the FBI aren't really feeling it though, but it seems like whatever happened over the course of this season was enough to change their mind to be like, fine, we'll let it happen, but we're not okay with it. Not unless there's some other, it might not even be that. Navarro might not be getting what he wants. At the end of the day, it could be FBI has other plans, but Marty to be like, yeah, like, is there anything like colder than cold is kind of where they're at right now, temperature wise. And you can tell Wendy's trying to make an attempt to be good with Jonah, which is so interesting because obviously like her and Charlotte were like at each other's throats. Now they're kind of in a better place. Like, in fact, Charlotte's so much like Wendy now, like the way she's like handling stuff, like handling business. And now it's like Jonah's so anti-Wendy. He's very copacetic with his dad because at the end of the day, his dad went along with everything, but it was still his mom's decision with the whole Ben thing, so it more so falls on her shoulders. Not really listening to his dad, but it's just his dad's parenting style versus, like, Marty versus Wendy when it comes to the parenting has always been very different. He's always been like, all right, let's keep it cool, calm and collected. Wendy's always been one like, nah, fuck that. We're doing things my way. Which the argument could be, you probably haven't helped out handling things your way, Wendy. That's the whole, like, rub of it all. Both parental-wise and just, like, the grand scheme of everything-wise. But putting all that aside, going back to it, like, obviously we see them crash the car. And the reason why I thought was so interesting is when we rewound it, I was like, okay, we're going to get, like, a week earlier. It's like, no, they don't tell you how long that is. Which is interesting because most things will rewind and be like, oh, 48 hours earlier. The fact is, they were like, oh, no. We're going to keep you on the edge of your seat. You're not going to know that's when that's happening until it happens. So part of me is like, all right, so are we going to get to episode 7 and that happens? Because I found out this season, the first half is only 7 episodes, or I was surprised. I would have, because I know this final season is supposed to, well, at least when they originally announced the final season, I know it was 16 episodes, so I don't know if they're still keeping that. It's just maybe the back half of the season is going to be a little bit longer. Maybe they're doing like that because like the story structure of the end is more of a two-parter, so I don't know. I just think that's interesting how they numbered that off, like why the first half of the season is only 7. You would think it'd be 8. Like, does it make that much of a difference? No, but I just thought that was interesting. But either that's going to be at the end of episode 7 or that's going to be at the end of what is essentially going to be like episode 14 or 15 or something like that. I doubt that's going to be like the end because I'm sure there's going to be more to it. But that could be like a penultimate episode, like episode 15 type of thing. But I don't know. But I think it's so good that they hide it from you because you're like, yeah, you won't know. Like, oh, like, why would we tell you how long that... I mean, it's not like the show necessarily tells you how far in advance, like... Because you don't always get timetable frame wise of like, oh my god, this is like a month later. It's like, you know, with the time frame of the show jumping around, you never know. It's like, oh, it's been a day, it's been a week or something like that, right? But I guess it's like, they don't even give you the illusion of being able to figure it out. It's like, right. They're going to give you context clues to be like, oh, maybe it's around the corner, but you never know what events are going to play out to eventually lead to that cold opening, essentially. But obviously, we got this in our first look at season 4 of Ozark, was that scene where Marty and Wendy are cleaning up, essentially, Helen's brains and blood out of their hair and clothes. So Navarro had them send over some special clothes, you know, for the party and everything. And it's like, now we get finally get some context to that line he says in the show about, in the trailer about them being celebrities. And I thought was because, I was like, oh, is it because of everything they did in the Ozark? It's no, specifically, the fact is you were able to get the U.S. government to basically take down our competition, our rivals. So yeah, like everyone's all about it. We get introduced to Javier, his nephew, which is interesting. He definitely seems like potential main antagonist vibes here. Navarro's borderlining antagonist. He's more of an ally until you piss him off and you prove not to be useful. Then he's going to cap your ass. But Javier, he's the X factor in this season. He's the unpredictability because, as Navarro says in himself, my nephew has no patience, which I think is ironic because you would almost make the argument, kind of feels like Navarro sometimes doesn't, but I guess it's like, right, if you think I have no patience, God, you haven't seen my nephew. So he's talking about, obviously he's like, oh yeah, like Helen let us know about Darlene, and it's like, oh, you had to open your big damn mouth, Helen. To be fair, Helen didn't know she was going to get killed. She was just doing her job looking up for the cartel like she normally does. So once again, Helen got off all the middle fingers before she bit the bullet. Granted, she didn't know she was doing that. You know, she didn't set this up to be a big fuck you to the birds in more ways than one, but it just ironically happened that way. So cool. It's like, cool, we're going to deal with the Darlene thing because obviously Marty and Wendy were completely unaware. So Navarro's like, oh, let's talk. And it's like, yeah, you're going to handle this Wendy thing. It's like, this Darlene thing. It's like, no. He's like, because Marty's like, well, we'll just leave her alone. It's fine. Navarro's like, no. My nephew being who he is, he's looking for any cracks. He's trying to come after me. He wants to take my position. He's going to try and kill me. Oh, and then he's going to kill you because you're important to me. Because obviously anyone that's important to me, he's going to try and kill because he wants this whole operation. He wants to take control of it because I guess maybe, you know, as the younger generation, he is very impatient. And, it's like any younger generation, like, oh, I know more than these old farts. I'm the young blood. I'm going to be pumping new blood and make this business grow exponentially. What the old guard couldn't do, the new guard can. It's going to be that type of thing. So you'd think it'd be easier to just like deal with him, but it's like, right, that is your nephew, that's your sister's youngest. It's like you can't make him disappear without causing some family issues, and you need everything to be copacetic. So, but like I said, I think that's a nice element of adding him as this X factor, as almost this borderline antagonist of, cool, we got to operate everything while keeping him like good and in a good position because we can't like just let him be out and about because as we see throughout the episode, he's unpredictable. He's willing to fly off the handle. He doesn't bother to really ask questions. He is the shoot first, ask questions later type of person because he thinks he knows it all when in actuality he doesn't. But Navarro presents which I went into the season being like, I love that being a storyline, and Navarro being like, yeah, I want you to basically make it so that I can come and go from the U.S. to here, and I won't suffer retaliation, getting arrested, assassinated. I want out. And that's why I'm like, oh, so you doubly don't want your nephew to know, because that was kind of a thought I had, wondering like, right, you probably don't want the rest of the Navarro cartel to know what you're doing, because it's like, it's going to be like, whoa, you're selling us out? But I brought it up before, because even Wendy kept being like, no, that's impossible. It's like, well, you guys, Wendy's up here able to reinvent herself as a pillar of the community. It's like, yeah, but we aren't internationally known drug lords with our names all over wanted posters. And he's just like, nah, get it done, because you kind of have to get it done, because if you don't get it done, what was the point of me keeping you alive? That's why I chose you over Helen, because you guys doing what you're able to do, you're able to do something Helen couldn't do, and I knew you could do it for me, because if you don't do it for me, we're all kind of fucked. So it's like, cool, you're going to end up dead, but I'm also going to end up dead too, because my nephew, he is going to find a crack in this armor that is our entire operation. He's going to find this weakness, he's going to exploit it, and he's going to remove me from the equation. So, kind of for everyone's benefit, yours, mine, your family's, get this done. But it's just a thing of like, yeah, but the FBI is never going to agree to it. Once again, if it was a member of your cartel selling you out, the entire cartel, that's one thing. But it's like, you're the head honcho. Like, I don't know many situations that would be like, cool, we're going to give immunity to the head honcho. It's like, that's not how a RICO case works. RICO is like, you start at the bottom and you work your way up and take down everybody all at once. usually they don't start from the top and go down. That's not how it works. Like the government, but it's like, I guess my thought at the time during the trailer was like, maybe he has connections, or like, right, people who have connections to the cartel, some very powerful people in like governmental positions. So like, right, you take them down. I mean, he probably has like a lot of dirty secrets, and he knows where all the bodies are buried, all the skeletons are in the closet. So he could always use that. That's the only thing I can assume for now. Because I'm like, what would you have to offer the FBI, the U.S. government, that they'd be like, cool, we'll let you big time cartel dude, go and just do whatever you want to. We'll sign off on you just doing what you want willy-nilly. It's like, no. Like, what do you have up your sleeve that will cause that? I mean, he's not really presenting anything. He's just like, Marty, Wendy, make it happen. It's like, you're not going to give us, nudge us in the right direction with something to like wet their whistles with? It's like, no, just figure it out. Okay. But obviously they come back home to so many complicated things. First, Ruth buying the Lazy O, which I love that whole thing. That she's trying to convince the guy who runs it, Stan, to give it to her. And she's trying to make it seem sentimental. And I love that she's coming from the perspective of, nah, I want this business to be mine. Like, anytime some people come here vacationing, come here, I want them to see this spot to show them that this is mine, that this is kind of local owned. I'm going to show them, I'm going to put myself on the map. Which I think is interesting, because I think that potentially coincides with who Ruth was at the beginning of the series. That's not what she's about anymore. Granted, she's around Darlene and Wyatt, and she's like, right, I convinced him to give us the hotel and stuff like that. It's like, and Darlene's like, why? We have our way of laundering money. It's like, the way you guys launder money was cute and fine. This is how we do it. I know I learned from the best at laundering money, because can't nobody do it like Marty does. So Darlene's kind of like, okay, it's just kind of like, she's not okay with it because she's so used to doing things so for their way for so long. It's, but it's like, right, on a smaller scale, it worked for them, but we're talking like big stuff happening. So it's like, you can't keep doing things that way. So Ruth is like, right, let's talk percentages. You get 50% because this is your whole operation, and the other 50%, me and Wyatt will split. She's like, no, that 25% is perfect for you. Me and Wyatt will split the 75%. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess it benefits to be in that relationship, because it boosts his percentage up, about 12-13% from that 75, which he wasn't too keen on. He was like, you don't have to do that. But she's like, no, baby, what's yours is mine. Which, once again, it's like, well, we already know what happened to the last person that was so close to her hubby, how that played out for her. But it's like, if I remember correctly, didn't Ruth warn him about that last? It's like, yeah, she did kill her last husband, because they had a very difference of opinion. It's like, yeah, I kind of don't agree with Darlene. Good chance she'll remove you from the equation herself. Well, to be fair, they were trying to kill each other, so it wasn't like it was a one-sided thing. I was like, no, both of them had plans to do that. She just happened to get to him before he could get to her, so. I did like Jonah going to see Ruth and giving her Ben's ashes, because it's like, right, he loved you, and she's like, well, he loved you too, so. And it's like, she's like, and he's even like, you shouldn't work for my parents. She's like, I already quit, but why do you think I shouldn't? It's like, they killed Ben. It's like, oh, so you know. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, no matter what, my difference of opinion with you and your parents will never affect us. It's like, if you want to come see your Uncle Ben at any point in time, his ashes, then come by anytime. You're always welcome. That couch over there, he loved that couch, So I thought that was kind of a beautiful thing of like, they're both kind of joined together, because at the end of the day, obviously it's like, Jonah, it's his parents, and it complicates things because he does love them and everything, and he's kind of co-signed been okay with a lot of stuff that they done, but like killing Ben was just kind of like a big no-no. The same thing for Ruth. Well, there was other thing, Frank Jr. and this on top of it was really like the final nail in the coffin for her when it came to like the Marty and Wendy thing. But the sad thing is, they both do care about her, because she is like a pseudo daughter. I think even more so for Marty than Wendy, because I go think, well, because Wendy always made it seem like, oh no, you're family, and she was kind of like, man, fuck Ruth, she made her bed, she's on her own. She made that kind of clear this episode, whereas Marty was like, no, like, we do actually care about you, at least he does, so. But also, it's just like, yeah, Marty's trying to like juggle everything. He's trying to keep everything copacetic, trying to keep everybody on good enough terms, because it's like, right, with everything that's going on, we don't need to be going at each other's throats. We don't need more enemies. With what we're dealing with already is kind of an already impossible task that we have to make possible for the sake of us and everyone we care about. So I also love that Ruth tried to break into Marty's software because she's like, oh, he's in Mexico. And then Charlotte's like, what are you doing here? It's like, your dad asked me to look after things. She's like, bullshit. Before they left for Mexico, told me to look after things. Get out. Don't ever come back. I was like, I love that. So, once again, I think it's interesting what they have done with Charlotte, how she has, once again, her and Jonah have kind of flipped the script a little bit. She's kind of more supportive of their parents, and now Jonah's kind of anti their parents, where she was kind of more like that at the beginning of the series and kind of slowly transitioned. Like I said, I think she's taking a lot more after Wendy, and I think we're going to see that even more this season. I mean, maybe even Jonah's kind of taking after Wendy, dark side Wendy a little bit too. And I think Charlotte might have a little bit more of a balance, but Jonah's always had a little bit of that, like, darkness kind of growing in him after everything that they've experienced. But he was always a little bit of that. That was always their biggest concern at the beginning, that Jonah was always going to be the oddball. And I think the Ozark kind of festered and grew that seed of darkness that's always maybe been there. It just festered it a little bit more. And now that potential seed of darkness is going to be used and turned against the Bird family in more ways than one. Because I love that when everyone came back and was like, wait, what the hell happened to the house? It's like, yeah, I kind of shot it. It's like, why'd you shoot the windows? Because I found out what Mom did to Ben, and it's just like this back and forth, and at the end of the day, Helen is dead, but I love that he's like, wait, so that means Ben didn't have to die. It's like, well, it would have been called for even without Helen, because Ben was running around in, you know, his manic moments, and he was spewing all the juicy details he should be spewing. Like, if it wasn't Helen, I mean, Helen had extra reason for it, because it's like, right, I'm going to get back at you for telling my daughter the truth. But truth be told is, if the cartel found out, they would have killed them themselves, not killed more of you. So it isn't that simple, but it is like, yeah, if it wasn't for Helen, like, Ben wouldn't be dead. And it's kind of like, what was the point? Because now Ben is dead, but also Helen's dead now too. So it's kind of, in Jonah's eyes, it's like, right, then what was the whole point of it all if she's just going to end up dead anyway? So... But I love that that private investigator, Mel. Oh my God, are you going to be the linchpin to so much terrible shit happening in the Ozark? Because I'm like, man, first and foremost, why are you going so hard in the paint for this job? I'm like, oh, I can't find Helen? Oh, well, like, there's got to be more to this. Like, you can't just be, he's like, oh, as long as I'm doing this job, like, it's always going to stay open. I guess because of his reputation and his business will be affected by it. But I'm like, if I can't find her, I'm like, oh, well, she doesn't want to be found. I'm like, why go so hard in the paint? Like, get him to find someone else to do it. But it's like, the fact is he's going so hard makes me think, like, first I was like, could he actually be the ex-husband in some shape or form? Like, have we met her ex-husband? I don't remember Helen's. I think she's referenced him in the past. I don't remember if he ever popped up, but I think she has referenced him. He probably did pop up. It's been a while since I've seen season 2, and I didn't rewatch season 3 before watching this. I'm gonna have to change that eventually, but for now. But I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me why he's going so hard in the paint for this. Going so above and beyond to the point he's stopping going out of your place, breaking into it, mind you, because he was supposed to, because Jonah not being able to keep his mouth shut, it's like, oh, you should go talk to her daughter, Erin, which we never see that on screen, because I guess Helen did make Erin kind of disappear. So, because she doesn't know much about what happened to her mom, so I guess she wouldn't be able to get much information there. But like, the fact is that wasn't brought up in the episode. I thought was just kind of interesting. But he goes to see the sheriff about it, and the sheriff's like, I don't want to get mixed up in that. And he was almost like, wait, what's that about? He's like, nothing, because he knows what Helen's mixed up in. He's like, I don't want to get mixed up in it. I don't want to be in the middle of whatever that is, because he's kind of like, if Helen is gone and you're looking for her, that means maybe she's going, either he thinks, oh, she's dead, which I don't think he does, but he's probably like, she's off doing some cartel stuff, so I'm not trying to get in the middle of that. There's already been enough complications here in the Ozark, so I'm not about to complicate things more for myself. I want things pure and simple. I don't want to complicate it. Don't want to be on Darlene's bad side. Don't want to be on the cartel's bad side. So we'll just kind of leave things as is. But like I said, he goes so hard in the paint. He shows up with evidence because he broke into Helen's place and he was like, oh, here's some here's a picture of Jonah rolling up at her place with a shotgun, and then Jonah's like, no, I didn't kill her. Like, as you know, I left and she was alive. It's like, wait, why are you saying that? You're making it sound like you think she might be dead. Why do you think? I'm like, shut up. His mom is literally over there being like, okay, enough. Shut up, Jonah. And I even love at one point she was just like, it was at a different point, like after they had the argument previously, but she was just like, clean all this shit up. And then they're at dinner, and she's just kind of like, right, I appreciate you cleaning all that up. He was like, I kind of felt like I didn't have a choice. It's like, no, you didn't, but I still appreciate it nevertheless. I'm like, I love how Wendy switches back and forth like that, because she does feel bad snapping at him like that, but it's like, right, they're stressed out about everything, and now it's like, right, have a teenage son who hates you and everything that you do. He doesn't realize, like, the sacrifices we've made also to protect him. Like, us removing Ben from the equation was for the purposes of, hey, we need to remove him because it's the only way to keep this family safe. So it was a necessary evil. Granted, it's like, right, obviously it hurts me than it hurts you. Like, I get it. He was your best friend. He was my brother. And you kind of get to that argument of like, I knew him a lot longer than you did, kid. I knew the ups and downs of him. You saw this and that side of him and everything. And yeah, you saw some of that side of him kind of losing grips of himself. But I've been there a lot longer than you, kid. It hit me more. Him losing your uncle versus me losing my brother. Like, you know, there's no competition. Not saying that's there, but it almost feels like there's this connotation of like, I know what happened. If like I did what I had to protect our family. The fact is, I'm willing to let my brother get killed for the sake of protecting you and our entire family should mean something to you, but Jonah doesn't see things that way. In fact, when he's talking to Charlotte later on, he's suggesting like, right, killing Ben is the same thing as killing me, which I'm like, I guess because for him, it's like him and Ben were so alike that is like, right, if mom's willing to kill Ben because Ben had his issues, which I guess even Jonah's like, I have my issues, I'm an oddball, like what would your mom do? But Charlotte's like, think about all that they're doing just to protect us. And he's like, right, like, what if she tried to kill me? You're not even focusing on that point, Charlotte. And Charlotte's just like, you know what? Do whatever you want to. Mom was right. You need to grow up. And he's like, you need to get your own opinions. So it's not just Wendy and Jonah that are having issues. Now Charlotte is too. It's like, right, because she's worried about her little brother, but it's like, right, it's time for you to grow up. She's been through what she's been through. Jonah's kind of going through, I'd say a little bit more, considering everything that's happened to him since they came to the Ozark. But obviously for Charlotte, she's had her bumps in the road, her complications as well. So just showing how both of the kids are handling this so vastly differently from each other. I guess it's not even vastly different considering they're both kind of leaning into the more, oh, I'm co-signing a lot of this criminal stuff in my own way. I'm finding my own lane in all this money laundering and cartel business. Like, they're both kind of finding their own lane and their roles to play in the family, considering everything, you know? We check up on Maya for a little bit because I love that Marty keeps trying to call her, but that's kind of a no-go, which Marty's probably like, you need to answer your damn phone. The sooner I'm able to get in contact with you, the sooner I can get this ball rolling, because this is going to be a whole thing in itself, and I need you to immediately answer me, because the more time that we don't handle this, the more the clock is ticking away. Because even Jonah's like, you know that's impossible, right? And Wendy kept being like, no, it is. It's, you know. But it's like, Jonah's like, no, like, this is kind of stupid what we're doing. And even, you know, you try to explain it to Charlotte, but Charlotte's like, no, they're going to do what they're going to do. To be fair, your parents have somehow, despite everything that's happened to them over the course of 3 seasons, they're still standing. So my money is on the birds. Or my money is on Marty and Wendy finding a way. It's going to take a little bit of skill, a little bit of luck, and the universe just happening to fall into the right way because they've lucked out and things have kind of worked out for them in the long run. What part of me does think at the end of the day, though, the birds are their luck is gonna run out. Like, I don't know fully how this is gonna end. I doubt that car accident's gonna kill them, but it's just definitely not gonna end well for the birds. That's been my prediction. We'll see if it ends up being the case or not. But I don't see this having a happily ever after ending. But we'll see. But yeah, about the whole Maya situation, I love that. Obviously, she's getting her badge. She's out to be able to be out in the field now because of taking down that cartel and everything. It's like, yeah, because of you, we're able to do all this, take $350 million of drugs off the street. It's like, yeah, kind of got everything she wanted. Granted, didn't get there the honest way she wanted to. And now Trent's like, cool, I'm in this position. I need you to talk more positively about me at the hearing. And he tries to call her out. But I love that she pulls like a B-Rabbit 8 Mile move of like, oh, you want to dish all this crap about me? How about I beat you to the punch and talk about all this negative stuff about like, oh, how much of I'm a hypocrite and stuff like, is that all the facts that you were about to drop? And she's like, you should go home. And Trent didn't have anything to say. It's like, yeah, poor guy. Because, I mean, it's like, because she's like, truth be told is, I don't care about your motivations. It's about you did the wrong thing. And so that's, you got to suffer the consequences. Which, once again, for him, it's like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, me getting my recommendations because I got manipulated by a drug cartel operative. You know, it is what it is. So she's trying to come to terms with it, still trying to do good, which I think is ironic too, because that kind of circles back to Wendy and them, because like the thought is like, right, we do this, we legitimize a lot of stuff, win some elections, we'll be able to actually do a lot of good. And I love, I do apologize jumping around a lot, but I love Jonah being like, you know, they can track the money. She's like, this is America. What do you think? Like, two election cycles from now, it's going to be a funny myth and legend. No one's actually going to care where the money came from. This is how America works. I was like, that's a funny and interesting perspective to have on the situation. But I did like the sit down, and obviously them telling Ruth that like, yeah, Darlene, Ruth, and Wyatt about Helen being dead, and that, you know, the cartel's warning about her doing her thing, which she wasn't going to listen, but it seemed like even she was kind of taken aback by the fact is that Helen got. Because it's like, right, they killed Helen in front of us. Helen worked with them for 10 years. She still got popped. And even Ruth was kind of shaken at the end of it all, because even like Marty was like, we do care about you. Don't get yourself killed. She's like, you don't fucking care. It's like, the thing is, they do. Like, he doesn't, like, she's kind of been his protege. She's been his right hand throughout so much of this. Like, despite where the Birds and the Langmore started, like where they went through on this journey together, he does care about Ruth and he wants her to be okay, because this is likely something to get you killed. So please talk some sense into Darlene. And I loved her telling like why he's like, don't let it get you. She's like, dude, I thought Helen was the shit. I thought she was kind of almost untouchable. She was running things. She was in a good position. If they can kill her, what the fuck does that mean for the rest of us? We're chopped liver compared to her. If they're willing to kill one of their go-to people, someone that's been so loyal to them for over 10 years, who makes a lot of moves and plays for them, if they're willing to remove her from the board, then what chance do the rest of us have? They will wipe us off the map. But, you know, especially because Ruth doesn't, she's like, right, she knows how to make things work, but she's not going to be able to do that without Marty's software. But luckily, Jonah's got his own, and he's improved upon his dad, so he's like, right, I'm going to give it to you so you can launder money of your own, which she's like, hey, come work for me, which he was hesitant to, but I think what made him finally pull the trigger on it is, one, all the stuff with his mom. I think that conversation he had with Charlotte, like, right, it could easily, like, what if they try to kill me for the quote-unquote greater good? And to just also their batshit plan. Like, I don't know whether Jonah's just doing all this to spite his family. Could be your typical teenage rebellion. Or whether he's thinking in the long run, what he's doing now will potentially help his family in some shape or form. I don't know what he's really thinking. He's hurt. He's kind of lashing out like a teenager would when you're not properly able to kind of deal with stuff, because, like, his mom makes it a little harder to, like, we're not really having the conversations. I say something, and it just kind of ends up into, like, a, not yelling, more so yelling on her part, but, like, them both being dismissive of what the other says. So I love Marty being like, we should probably be a united front. She's like, yeah, we should be both voices, be consistent going forward. So it's basically almost like a, cool, what I say goes, and you should follow me, because I'm talking about moving forward. You kind of want to backpedal, keep things cool, calm, and collected. It's like, no. My way is kind of like the way we should go. So it definitely seems like that's the way Wendy is leaning. So, but like I said, Jonah does ultimately accept Ruth's situation. It's like, cool, I'll help you. Like I said, I fully don't know what's all going through Jonah's mind on why he wants to do it. So other elements to it is your boy Javi, because he can't wait, decided to roll up, and he's in the Ozark. He's like, oh, I was on my way to Chicago, so I decided I'm gonna stick around for a day or two just to see how things go. And they're like, nah, things are good with Darlene. We just don't want to push the metal too much because, well, we don't want a sheriff all up in our business, so it's all good, yada yada yada. And then later on, the sheriff shows up, not because of Darlene, but because of that stupid male, that stupid PI who's starting shit he shouldn't have. He's going to be, like I said, the linchpin that's going to set off so much because he's investigating Helen. And so the moment Sheriff Nick rolled up, Javier popped him. Once again, no questions asked. Because he's thinking like, oh, you're the sheriff. You're working for Darlene. You're up here asking all these questions. Because if he had stuck around and talked to, because I guess even if they had explained, oh, we told Darlene about Helen and she's backing down, he probably would have thought, oh, you're using your sheriff to come ask questions about Helen and be all up in our business. He'll probably justify it like that. But it's like, right, he's only looking for Helen because that damn PI won't leave him alone, told him to actually do his job, is all that was. Either way, he's like, hey, got rid of your cop problem. Let's dispose of his body. You guys got a crematorium, right? And then obviously you got Jonah rolling up by and he's seeing that. And I guess it's just making him think of, cool, that's what happened to Uncle Ben. And also that could happen to me. And just like, cool, this is just kind of routine now. And obviously he doesn't know the circumstances around it. But I think just the image of them doing that, because it's probably like, right, that's what happened to Uncle Ben. And once again, if it can happen to Ben, it can happen to me, because we were kind of two peas in a pod. And like, what if I become that person that needs to be removed for the sake of the rest of the family? All I can say is, it is a hell of a way to start a season. Hell of a way to have so many threads already at the beginning. You're like, all right, so how is this all going to play out? What's going to lead to what? I'm so excited to see where these next 6 episodes take us. I am watching these one at a time. In previous seasons, I've done them all at once, but obviously subsequently, I've been recently doing for a past while now, I've been doing the, like, stuff that drops all at once. I'm doing it one episode at a time, but I will be releasing all the reviews at once whenever I do watch and review the entire season, so. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.